And we're singing. We're singing. Dun, 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 dun. Time to talk. Beauty and the Bitch.
Morgie.
Hey.
Do you remember that time that we were floating the river?
Oh,
Remember? And then we're floating down the river, and then all of a sudden this half man, half shark jumped out of the water. Do you remember that? And he had gills on his dick. Do you remember that? We were doing that.
You know, we never were.
Okay, you don't remember that.
We never were.
You've done too many drugs. Okay, do you remember that time that we were trekking through the Amazonian rainforest, and those river dolphins that are kind of flesh-colored and therefore less cute than the ocean dolphins leapt up out of the water, and they spoke to us in human voices. They sang as a chorus, and they said, "Please don't destroy the Amazon." Do you remember when we were doing that?
That's so outrageous. Dude, we were never doing that. But honestly, like, why not?
We never were?
We never were.
Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Beauty and the Bitch. I'm Mick.
And I am Morgan.
And today we are talking about movies that never were.
They never were.
No. We wanted them to be, but then they weren't.
Well, sometimes we felt indifferent.
Well, that's facts.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of research, rando research, like Google research is what I Googled.
You Googled it.
2 or 3 things. Yeah, exactly. Which is a lot of research.
Yes.
Right? And there were so many movies that like have had treatments or like people got excited about, but a lot of them were horrible from jump.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And should never have been made.
I'm sure there are more unfinished and unmade movies than will ever be in, like, a completed catalog, right? Because there's just so many ideas that either never get funded, or they fall through, or something doesn't work out, or...
Oh, it's like the library and the magicians. All the books that people never wrote.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Which, girl, I'm sure my section's very full.
Girl, mine too.
Very full.
They put in a whole new wing for me, because every 3 days, there's a new book I didn't write that I have the idea for. Mm-hmm. I hate when people are like, I'm an idea person. I'm like, girl, we're all idea people.
Yeah.
Don't come at me with, I'm an idea person. That just means you're lazy, honey.
Do you think I gotta add that to my LinkedIn resume?
Yes, definitely. Okay, you should.
Cool.
Yeah. So we're going to try, we each picked 3 movies that never were.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to try our best to move with some alacrity.
Ooh.
I hope I used that correctly.
Well, I hope you did
now
not.
I'm trembling with anxiety. I think alacrity means quickly. Like quickness.
Quite quick.
Quite quick. We're going to try and move quickly through them because obviously there's 2 of us. We're each doing 3. And that is 42 separate movies.
Yeah. Wait. What?
Oh, I'm sorry. Gay men can't do math.
Math was never the subject of the gays.
Or the women, right? Am I right? Just give up. That's what I say.
We're not good at anything.
Well, we're good at some things.
Ding! I baked you biscuits.
Ooh, and also sexual victimization.
Oh, yeah.
We're really good at that. We're naturals.
Hashtag me too. But actually.
Yeah, that's real life. Okay, so Morgie, now, would you like to go first?
Oh my God, I would, yes. So I will take you through, we're going to go in reverse order from the movies that we're least excited about, or like / gave no shits, to the ones that we like most wanted to see. So least to most.
Out of our top 3.
Yes, out of our top 3.
So none of these are just shit shows. There were some that were just pure on shit shows.
Oh, for sure. So we're just kind of like interweaving here. It's going to be just like, kind of like a serpentine. Like if Slytherin had actually gotten along with the other ones, and then he wrapped him around like a bone constrictor, and then he could have killed them and been done with it once and for all.
Girl, why don't nobody listen to us and our plans?
Honestly, I'm really not sure.
You're an idea person.
That's why they pay me the big bucks. I'm quite rich.
Oh!
If by rich, you mean lower middle class. I'm doing great.
Hey, compared to where we came from, ding ding, baby. Am I right?
Ow, cheers. But really, though. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to kick this little shindig off first. We'll just jump right in, okay?
Let's do it.
So my number 3, well, I'll just call it number 6 because it's at the bottom of the list.
That's good.
So number 6 on our list of movies is Dune. Okay, now I don't mean to bring the shade, but as Mick can attest to, I am in the middle of a relationship with Frank Herbert's 1965 novel Dune, which later went on to have a series created, like there were sequels and whatnot, but originally it was a standalone concept and always ranks really highly on best sci-fi books of all times. I just recently looked at an NPR, it was from 2011, but it was a really comprehensive list, top 100 sci-fi and fantasy of all time, and it was number 3.
Wow.
Or number 2. It might have been number 2. I think it was Lord of the Rings, Dune, and then fucking Douglas Adams. But...
Oh, Hitchhiker's Guide. Yeah. Meh.
But I have taken on this endeavor because as a sci-fi fantasy nerd connoisseur, hope to one day slide into the guru role, I felt like I had to read it. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And I thought about reading it before and I just never got around to it. Anyways, I am deep into Dune and completely miserable. I mean, hot take from the fantasy world. This book is hella boring. There is almost nothing in this book that I care about. And Aaron and I went on a walk over the weekend and he asked what about it did I not like? And so then I just summed up the whole plot for him so far when I'm about 13 hours into it. And he was like, so you just don't like the literal basics of the storyline and the book and how it's written. I was like, yes. There's nothing about this book I like.
On the other hand, you're a great fan of dimly lit sand. Cavernous hallways.
Yeah. Deep holes with teeth inside of it. Yes. I'm familiar with and I understand.
I would say you're intimately familiar with a deep hole full of teeth.
Yes, girl. But anyways, so it was not what I was expecting, so it's been really hard to get through because I'm unhappy with myself for not liking it, and I'm unhappy that everyone else loved it. So,
just for the record, you're not alone, Morgan.
Yeah.
I just want you to know, I also couldn't get through Dune. Yes, you're welcome. Yeah. I can get through some shit.
Aaron couldn't get through it either.
It's boring as hell.
And I'll read 75 Star Wars books.
Exactly, right? I mean, no, it's just boring.
Anyways, so there is a deep history with Dune. Fans are super fans. People have a deep love for Dune. And I get it. It's very inspirational for future fantasy sci-fi writers. It has this deep history.
Spice merchants.
Yeah, I love spice melange. But did you know there's been a series of controversial possible happenings of this movie? The one that we're going to focus on was the 1974 adaptation, so about 10 years after the novel came out, that was slated to be directed by Alejandro Jodorowsky, who was kind of a Polish director working with a French company headed by Jean-Paul Gibon, who kind of optioned the film and then selected the director, and they were going to put together this whole thing. Okay? So this guy, Alejandro, his vision for Dune was insane. He straight off the bat started with a 10-hour vision. It was going to be a 10-hour epic, and the collaboration was going to involve these people: Salvador Dali, Orson Welles, Gloria Swanson, David Carradine, Geraldine Chaplin, Alain Delon, Hervé Villechaize, and Mick Jagger. So a lot of really famous multicultural people that he wanted to bring in a variety of capacities for art direction and acting and writing. And
does sound very artsy, I must say. Yeah.
And to top it all off, he signed on to do the entire score. Pink Floyd.
Ooh.
Pink fucking Floyd.
That actually just won me over with that.
Yeah. So there's things about it that get you thinking what the fuck? That sounds incredible. Okay. So great. We're moving forward with this 10-hour thing. Yes. Who approved a 10-hour script? I don't know. But back then, that Cleopatra movie they made with Elizabeth Taylor was it was legitimately 5 hours long.
Yeah.
So 10 hours, maybe they were thinking 2 parts. Maybe they were thinking maybe they'll just do it as a mini-series or a series. I don't know what they were thinking. But they were moving forward. Okay, so Salvador Dali comes in and he's like, yeah. So I said I would do this, but turns out it's going to be $100,000 per hour for his time. What? But Alejandro was committed to having him be a part of the film for whatever reason. So he said, okie dokie. And then in his head, he was like, we'll just cut it down to 1 hour of screen time. And then we'll just replace him with a mannequin, was his plan that he brought to the board. to use throughout the rest of the film. Okay, Alejandro. And then they were like, well, maybe you might have noticed your budget is set at $9.5 million. So if you're spending $100,000 per hour on a minor-ish role, Salvador Dali was playing the Emperor from Dune, not one of the main characters that needed to be around a ton. That's, first of all, something to think about. Plus, you're trying to pay Pink Floyd. You've got Mick Jagger in the mix. You're talking to Orson Welles and Gloria Swanson. Like, it's a lot, bro. It's a lot. So, they were also wanted to work in collaboration with Frank Herbert, the author of Dune. And so, he came in to check the project out when they were pretty deep into this, right? Like, they had already spent $2 million of their $9.5 million.
And this is in the 70s.
In pre-production, yeah. $2 million in the 70s.
Wow.
So Frank Herbert got there and he was already like, well, I just really don't think we're spending efficiently. And like, there had been a lot of like artistic liberty that had been taken that he was not happy with. And the script grew from 10 hours to 14 hours. And so Frank Herbert was kind of just like, what the fuck are you doing to my beautiful book? I don't appreciate it. It's not going well. The studio wants to know where you spend $2 million. And then there was some issue with Salvador Dali saying some comments that were like anti-French or like there were some things going on. Anyway, so they were like, we're cutting him from the film, but they had already invested so much time and money into it. And then kind of from there, it seems like it fell apart. So.
Well, now, just a quick question here, clarification. True or false? Salvador Dali was the one who wanted to replace melange, the spice that they all fight over, with garlic salt. True or false?
Hot take. I think that was true.
Yes! He deserved that $100,000.
Girl, he earned it.
Girl, I love garlic salt.
Okay, so that was the adaptation that was called the greatest sci-fi movie never made. But girl, the bus does not stop there, which is a phrase that people
running?
definitely say. Yes, because in 1984, 10 years later, there was another reboot of this project, and David Lynch, famous writer-director of Twin Peaks, was handed the reins.
Shut up. A Eraserhead version of Dune? I don't know about
Yes, and so he made this film. Okay, there was a series of things that led up to this that we won't get into. Lots of drama and shit and whatever. And David Lynch made this film and then had final director's cut rights taken away from him because the studio didn't like the final cut that he made. And they basically recut the entire film. Oh, did I mention starring fucking Kyle MacLachlan?
Oh my god.
Who's like the detective from Twin Peaks. Like all
Cherry
the...
Pie. Cherry Pie.
Yeah. So, I can't believe I did not know this existed and I have to see it. But David Lynch was so unhappy with the situation that he wanted his name removed from the project completely, and they refused. So he tried to get them to use a pseudonym. He didn't want his name on his film because he thought it was a pile of garbage. And so they wouldn't use a pseudonym, but then I read in like later releases that the director's name is replaced with some pseudonym instead of David Lynch. But there's a 1984 David Lynch version that some people actually are into, that he thinks is pure garbage enough to not want his name on it, and it's just kind of floating around out there.
Wow, I had no idea that existed.
One further layer. Dune is in a current reboot in talks with director Denis Villeneuve, director of Arrival and the latest Blade Runner 2049.
Which I watched last night.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So this would be his third sci-fi film after those two, and he's kind of a really hot director right now, but he's in talks to bring this back to screen, and he thinks Dune is a haunting, beautiful sci-fi novel that's been with him for many decades, and he says, quote, it will be the greatest project of his entire life. So we might get a new Dune to replace this ambitious Pink Floyd Salvador Dali piece that we never got to see.
I feel overwhelmed.
It's a lot. It is a lot.
The Salvador Dali aspect, the David Lynch that actually exists that I've never even heard of.
It's actually out there.
Probably because, you know what, I bet it's arty as fuck. And I bet a lot of people were like, girl, no with this movie. Yeah. But I might like it.
Oh, and it was a huge failure. It cost $40 million to make, and it only grossed in its lifetime $30.9 million. So it was
That's a Morgan level.
It was a bomb. It was like, it wasn't like the bomb diggity, which is like Morgan level. It was like just a bomb.
I misunderstood.
Do you get it? Do you get it?
You're a failure?
Do you get it?
Are you a failure? I'm confused. Okay, so would you watch this new movie? I mean, would you be excited about it?
You know, the thing is, because I really don't like the book, like, it would have to get some pretty good ratings, or I don't know, Denis Villeneuve being at the helm, it might make me do it, but I find the story so deeply boring that he would really have to jazz it up.
Well, let me tell you about that. I told you I watched Blade Runner 2049 last night, and even though we did an episode on it, this is my first time seeing it, because, we do the episodes way before the movie comes out. And I thought that shit was boring as hell.
It's pretty boring and quite long.
Boring. I didn't even finish it, girl. I rented it for $6.
Oh, girl.
And then didn't even finish the last 15 minutes. I was considering maybe doing it tonight, but I've just realized now talking about it, I don't want to. So, that kind of makes me worry a bit, because if that movie was boring and his style is, to me, just my opinion, boring, and I think Dune is boring too, I just don't think that's going to be the movie for me.
And I hear you. I'm kind of like floating on that edge there, but like if, say, it got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes or something, I would probably watch it. Also, if it was like less than 3 hours. Like 2.5 hours is kind of my max for things that I'm not quite sure about.
Well, and then if it was, pretty loyal to the book, then, I mean, you're reading the book, but like me, I've never read the full book. I could just watch the fucking movie.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I love to do that.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Same.
Or I get the Cliff Notes version, but I don't tell nobody.
Girl?
Mm-hmm. You don't see no Cliff Notes in my library, but I promise you I do read a Cliff Note. Here and there.
But you physically go and buy the Cliff Notes books because you're 97 years old instead of just Googling it?
Yeah, and then I burn it after.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that makes sense. You don't want to be caught with it.
Hell no!
That's embarrassing.
That's no reputation.
Girl.
Okay, so, number 5, going down this list. My sort of third place of the 3 I picked is... Well, actually, let me see if you can get this movie, Morty.
Oh.
Guess this movie.
Okay.
So this movie has a lifetime box office total of $800 million. It stars a young man named Elliot and a friend who kind of resembles you. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see what you're doing there. You are talking about E.T., the extraterrestrial, and his adventures on Earth, but I don't appreciate it, and I'm not here for it.
He's full of love. That's how he resembles
And
you.
if anyone's got those E.T. forehead wrinkles...
now she's coming for my perma wrinkles.
Fucking black, motherfucker.
You know what? They make me distinguished, okay? Furthermore, it's kind of shocking, though, that there hasn't been an E.T. sequel. I mean... Yeah, I mean, it's pretty shocking that there hasn't been a sequel to what is essentially a classic American movie that has grossed, again, $800 million at the box office.
Bank, baby.
I know, right? But here's the thing. E.T. was one of Spielberg's earliest films, and he had never done a sequel to anything when he put out E.T. Now, since then, he's done Jurassic Park sequels, and what's the guy with the whip? Harrison Ford plays it.
Oh, Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. All I could think was Crocodile Dundee. I was like,
well,
bitch, really?
Why
That's
not?
a dated-ass, very specific reference. But anyway, now since then he's done all these sequels, but at that point, his stance was essentially like, why do sequels?
Dude,
I can do other stuff.
But sometimes they do too many. So,
Well,
I
yes.
kind of appreciate old school Spielberg thoughts.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I don't mind the Jurassic Park sequels. None of them are great. And some of the Indiana...
I was there for Indiana Jones. Maybe not the Crystal Skull, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
But
we
some
could
of
have
them
lived
were pretty
without
good.
that.
They were pretty high
Indiana
quality.
Jones as a trilogy was fine cinema.
Yeah, I think a lot of people agree with you. Yeah. But anyway, so at this point, he hadn't done one, and it was such a popular movie and made such a huge cultural impact in the 80s.
Yeah, that's where Drew Barrymore took her first bump of coke.
Oh my God,
On the set.
Off of E.T.'s head.
Yeah.
Oh my God, love it. So he sat down, Steven Spielberg, that is, not E.T., with one of the screenwriters for E.T. Her name is Melissa Matheson. And they wrote a treatment for a sequel, possible sequel. They named it Nocturnal Fears.
Oh.
I know, so already you're
dope.
like, so things get a little dark here. Why am I afraid? Why is it nighttime? Right? Only raccoons come out at night.
But basically, like, every 12 hours, you see the sun and the moon. They live on, like, a cyclical thing where our Earth is constantly spinning.
And that's why magnets work.
Yeah!
It all makes so much sense when you explain it.
Literally, it doesn't. Science, quit trying to rationalize. You will never fool us. Never. They're just flipping switches. They're flipping
You're flipping switches. Magnets don't work. That's a hoax.
And Chinese babies are born speaking Chinese.
Yes.
That's how it works.
And that's what we know.
And why aren't the cats outside my friends?
And why does Cat Pee smell so bad?
And like my hair in my kitchen.
So anyway, back to E.T. So, it's called Nocturnal. That's actually what we talk like when no one is recording us. That's
this is actually our presentation
That's
voice.
ridiculous.
It's very official.
Oh, yes, but then we get real. We turn that shit off. We just talk. Girl. Okay, so Nocturnal Fears, name of this sequel. Now, it was a much darker sequel. And it really revolves around these albino mutations. Same species as E.T. that we know and love.
Oh, so there would have to be more ETs.
More ETs, but albino with red eyes and sharp teeth.
No.
Okay, and it gets even worse. So, E.T., whose real name in this treatment is like Zorag or something stupid.
No.
They get his distress message before he gets saved, so they come looking to save him.
Oh.
And then they capture Elliot and Drew Barrymore, put her in a light cage, don't give her no kinds of toys, and then they pull Elliot out and torture his ass. Physically torture him. He's screaming in pain, crying out for E.T. to save him. And then E.T. literally floats into the room where they're torturing him. I think it's in their spaceship, and like he comes through a hole in the hole. And somehow with his little Barney finger and his little slow-ass gravelly voice, he gets rid of these evil E.T.s, saves the day, and then leaves again, presumably.
He was like, E.T., go home. And they were like, aight.
E.T., no taekwondo. Can't you imagine, like, Yoda doing, like, a...
Yeah, E.T. actually, this is really embarrassing if I have to tell you this. He did not take taekwondo, who's more of a mixed martial arts sort of alien.
I feel like my nerd cred has just plummeted 1,000%.
That movie sounds legitimately crazeball bonkers. And horrifying.
And also like what a weird, it's not the movie itself that sounds bad necessarily, though I don't think it sounds great. Yeah. But it's like as a sequel to the heartwarming.
Right. It's like Spielberg, who hurt you?
Exactly.
Like what happened?
Yes. Well, and he did come to his senses though. After he Melissa
just made
Matheson
17 Jurassic Parks.
Yeah, he was like, no girl, I'll just play with the dinosaurs. But no, he said of the sequel to E.T. after it was written, decided not to do it, he said, the sequel would do nothing but rob the original of its virginity.
Ooh, so then he was like, let's just make the world's worst video game out of it and also turn it into a book that would be one of the world's worst books.
I haven't read the book, but you're talking about the Atari video game that was essentially the death knell of Atari as a game system.
R.I.P.
Oh my gosh. I would love to go to that place where they're all supposed to be buried. I've heard it's kind of an urban myth, but I would love to see if I couldn't dig up an E.T. game. Because they buried
I read that millions, in like a landfill,
or like hundreds of thousands at least. So many of those games just buried.
That's
in
a new kind of treasure hunt.
Queen.
It's like you get a thing, it doesn't matter, it's not worth anything, and you spend a lot of time.
It's like having a conversation with you.
Or going to college.
Okay, so that was my number 5. Excited, but like, I'm not overjoyed.
Okay, yeah. It's a great number 5 slot.
Thank you so much. You're so supportive.
You always go.
You're so nice.
No,
I love
too much.
you.
It's too much.
You're my favorite.
Now I'm uncomfortable.
Want to play footsie?
Okay. Okay, let's jump into our number 4 selection, my middle choice, my middle child. I'm going to go with a little ditty called BioShock.
Like the game?
So BioShock is a video game that originally came out on platforms PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and whatever else was kind of like of that era. So it's not very old, and it is like a dystopian game. And so I have not played the game, but Aaron played. Hi, baby. And I watched him like you do when you're just a person who watches video games.
Like people watch me play video games on Let's Queer Witcher 3 on our YouTube channel.
Plug it, baby.
People watch that.
Yeah.
People, you should watch that.
People,
all
plural.
All the cool kids are doing it.
Yes.
It's not just me watching the videos over and over to get view counts.
Oh, that'd be hilarious and crazy.
Yeah, that was just a joke. That doesn't really happen. Anyway, on to number 3.
We're on 4. Okay, so BioShock. So BioShock is this, and you're familiar with it as well, because you've played some of it, but like not the whole thing. Is that right?
Yeah, and I own it, but I haven't. It's a long game. I do remember that for sure.
Yeah. So it's a really cool. What's that style of game? It's like not like an RPG. Is it an RPG?
I would call it a first-person role-playing game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're playing as his character. His name is Jack, I believe. And so essentially he has like a plane crash in the middle of the ocean, and then some shit goes down, and while he's, stranded, he discovers kind of this like world under the ocean. And that's
very Atlantis.
Yeah. And it's called Rapture. And Rapture is both dystopian and utopian, and that it was once this like roaring glorious place, and like there's some other shit that's gone down, and then he has like a series of missions, of course, that he's doing throughout, and he's wearing like a bubble hat and shit, isn't he? Mm-hmm. Anyways,
I think so.
And then he has this quest, and
sometimes anyway.
I can't tell you too much about what like the main objective is because it ends up being like spoilies.
Do you remember all those little girls running around, those big monster guys that are with them? That's all I remember.
Essentially,
creepy ass ghosts or some shit.
He's like tasked with like finding. There's like a person that they're like, you have to find this person, and like that person is like responsible for like whatever.
Was it my dad?
It was your dad. I didn't want to tell you because I knew.
Looking for my dad.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. So basically, that's the whole mystery of the game of like, who is this person? And then you spend your time interacting with all these other people and doing missions and like learning about the world and like how it's dystopian and somehow utopian. Anyways, this was going to be a movie put together and directed by, what's his name? Gore Verbinski.
Oh, no, wrong.
Okay, so Gore Verbinski, you might know him from Pirates of the Caribbean, also known as the movies that are still going. Why? Oh God, why? Please stop, please stop. Gore Verbinski. Completely.
Oh, that's him.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he has, I think, done some other things to give him cred. I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean is like his number one. Anyways, so he was set to do this movie. It was going to release in 2011, and they were 8 weeks away from filming. So they were deep into pre-production, and the movie got pulled by Universal.
Oh, no.
Because Gore Verbinski was adamant that this movie was going to be rated R. And Universal very much caters to the PG-13 crowd because it's more accessible. And so it was just this thing going back and forth. And then eventually they ended up citing financial differences / it was because of this R rating thing. It got plugged. The plug got pulled. And he was devastated. It was like really traumatic for him because it was like his baby. And like in an interview I read, he said, it's not like when you have an idea and then somebody shoots it down or they don't accept your script. You're like 8 weeks away from shooting and your whole life has been wrapped up in that planning and casting and taking care of everything. So it was like his baby being killed, which really sucks.
Hollywood is a cruel place, man.
And I think it would be an interesting movie. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, and also stunningly beautiful.
Exactly.
Because the art direction for the video game is like a lush jewel tones, kind of deco, kind of like noir, lots of shadows and like art deco details. It's stunning.
It kind of reminds me of the color palette too of like Del Toro films, like The Shape of Water, stuff
completely.
Like that.
Yeah, those deep emeralds and like rubies.
So it would be beautiful. And the proposed budget was $200 million, which the studio thought was too high. But I mean, with everything they would need to do with an underwater fucking world, essentially they would, probably need to spend that much. And the game's creator, his name is Ken Levine, or Ken Levine, I'm not sure how to say that. He personally had a hand in killing the movie because there was so much drama and all these issues around it, and he really wanted the movie to be done, quote unquote, right and not rushed. Like, he would rather have no movie at all than it be turned into a shitty movie. Which I totally get, because what are some other video game movies that have been put out?
Girl.
We've got Super Mario Brothers, Street Fighter.
Which is a classic, we should.
Okay, classic, but not
bad,
great.
But yeah.
Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat.
Another classic.
Double Dragon.
Because it's bad.
Final Fantasy, and Doom. Those are like the top video game movie adaptations.
I cringe so hard that some muscle in
You
my
pulled
neck
a
just
muscle.
spasmed. Yeah.
So, like, I get where he's coming from, but I also get where he's coming from that there's so much potential there.
Oh, yeah.
And Gore Verbinski recently did an AMA on Reddit, and he was talking about some new movie he's doing, but a lot of people had questions actually about this BioShock movie that got shut down.
AMA means Ask Me Anything.
Oh, yeah,
Just
sorry.
in case you're not a Reddit user.
Might be. And that means my bad.
Oh, good for you. Yeah, break it down.
Anyway, and so a lot of people were asking about it, and he said that he was still interested, and that he thinks that now that Deadpool has set the stage to be a big budget box office rated R movie that's whimsical, that he thinks that this could get made. Additionally, it was really hard to find any information about what the casting situation was like, but I did find in a couple of rumors Oscar Isaac's name attached to play the Jack character, like the main guy, which, again, I can't tell you too much, but about the story, because BioShock is like a spoiler, like,
oh, yeah.
The whole point of the game is the ending and what happens, so I just can't tell you too much, but based on Oscar Isaac's...
It turns out Bruce Willis was dead the whole time.
God damn it!
Sorry.
That was true, though.
That is true.
Yeah.
Girl, got me the
This is a
first
good
time.
twist. Yeah, girl. I was like,
What is that?
Anyway, but based on the work that Oscar Isaac has done, I think he would be an excellent choice for this film. He would really bring a lot. I don't think they could get him now unless they got a bigger budget than $200 million, but we'll see. What else? Oh, last thing about this. The Nerdist, which is that kind of pop culture website /
nerdy website.
Influencer people.
That's cool.
I read an article from them comparing basically the BioShock movie we all wanted. Like, the tagline was like, we don't need BioShock anymore thanks to Westworld. And I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense to me because they're two very different things. But apparently, when they wanted to make the movie, whenever the people were making Westworld, the Westworld creators, they used Ken Levine, the video game creator, as a consultant on how to make Westworld seem more like a video game world. And they borrowed a lot of like ideas and plot points from BioShock to craft that story. Like, not like specific details, but kind of like story arcs and plot arcs they borrowed for their characters in Westworld.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so I thought that was a really interesting article that I never ever would have thought about. So I don't know if they would have to change like the script for the new BioShock thing, or if they're worried about that, but I'm kind of down for it. I would totally watch a BioShock movie.
I would too. First, and I appreciate that Nerdist article because I had no idea about that connection, but I will say, just because we have Westworld does not mean that we shouldn't have BioShock. If nothing else, the color palette is completely different in the setting, and you know, I'm that girl. I couldn't watch House of Cards because it was too gray. Like, I really do care about it. It gives me emotions based on the styling of the movie and stuff, and that's a very different set of emotions.
Who do you think would be a good director for BioShock? Because I don't know if Gore Verbinski's is the one.
I mean, here in a bit, we'll be talking about Del Toro, and I mean, that's kind of a generic answer because he's so popular now.
It's not like his genre specifically, but I think he would be a great person.
He loves the color palette. We know he loves to do underwater shit.
We do.
He just did Shape of Water. That's half underwater.
What if it was like, Wes Anderson presents BioShock?
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Horrible idea.
And like Owen Wilson is like the lead actor, and he's like, wow, look at all the water.
Sometimes I think, Guillermo del Toro is kind of like the next generation Tim Burton. Maybe we give Tim Burton... Because Tim Burton I got tired of. I felt like, girl, you need to evolve with the times. But maybe he could evolve. Or maybe he's just like, fuck you, Mick Parker, you don't matter. And that's also true. But maybe he could evolve, and maybe BioShock would be like the next step in his evolution.
Gender bend, main character. Jack's new name is Jill. It's Helena Bonham Carter.
Yes! Because you know he loves to put his wife in every damn
Girl, she's got to be the star of everything.
Well, she is good.
She is good. It's like if she was shitty, it would be dumb, but she's actually good.
Yeah.
So, cool. BioShock.
Okay, so I would totally see that.
Right?
So from a video game to a comic book, our number 3 new movies that... Wait,
movies that never were.
Movies that never were. Number 3. Sandman. So now, Morgie, you haven't read the Sandman comics by Neil Gaiman, correct?
I have not. I wish, could I borrow $7,000 to purchase them?
You absolutely can. I'll just give it to you, girl.
You got it in cash?
Rich. We're both rich.
You got stack cash.
Yes, great. Actually, I stuff my mattresses with cash.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's why it's so whittle. Why are you sleeping on the floor, baby?
I know, I'm sleeping on a washcloth.
But it's got a 20 in it. But it's Canadian dollars. Which is what they call their money. Canadian dollars.
That's so sad. That is so sad.
They have like Canadian chapstick.
Oh, babies. Poor Canada. We could do a whole episode about just making fun of Canada. But anyway, we're not going to do that right now. So, Sandman comic.
That's next week's episode.
We make fun of Canada. Maybe we should do one for every country until someone finally just kills us. Because we're going to make so many people mad, you know.
I think we should go deep, though. Let's start with North Korea.
Oh, girl. Okay.
Okay.
Well, you better gird your loins, though, because I have a lot to say, and none of it is politically correct.
I love it.
But no accents, though. We have to agree, no accents.
Yeah.
Because that's just not allowed.
But maybe we could play Team America in the background.
Fuck yeah!
Right?
Right? I think so.
Okay,
Sandman. Sandman for realsies. Okay, so Sandman, the comic book, essentially the first issue, the original run, was 75 issues, which is quite long for a comic.
Quite a lot.
And it ran from 89 to 96. Okay? So that was just the first
1989. We was just a little baby.
I know. I was only 1 year old, and you were just 14.
God damn it.
So, now, in addition to the original run, which was, meaty in and of itself, there were then numerous extensions. There are still extensions coming out and, all kinds of things. Now, originally, or I guess I should say essentially, the comic is about the Endless, who are 7 siblings who came into creation at the beginning of creation, essentially the Big Bang, or whatever you think started the universe. They're more powerful than gods because they're like cosmic deities, right? So there are 7 of them. And I have one that I think you are, and I have one that I think I am.
Aww.
Okay?
If you gave me a shit one, we're done.
Morgie, I would never do that to you.
Okay.
I would never do. You know how sweet I am. I don't understand why you don't trust me and love me. It's
this
so
is
sad.
bullshit. You made me the Hunchback one, didn't you?
No, there is a Hunchback one. Okay, so I'm just going to run through them quickly. I'll tell you when we get to yours, okay? So Destiny is the eldest, and he literally wears a hood. He's real boring and dusty, but his book contains everything that has ever happened and will ever happen. So he's like omniscient, essentially.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. So he's Destiny. He lives in a garden of branching paths. Very cool. Second eldest is Death, but this is a really cool Death. She's actually probably as popular as Dream, the protagonist. She's like a goth girl, and she's real sweet, though, but also, it's her job to kill you and everything eventually. She'll be the last thing alive. Okay, so that's the eldest sister. Dream is the protagonist, the Sandman, and he's in charge of dreams, but he also has a whole land where dream/imagination lives. So he has things like Eve is there from the Bible. He has those 2 brothers. One's hairy and one's not hairy. And the hairy one gives God a sheep, and the not hairy one gives God some vegetables. Or no, I switched it. Anyway, it's 2 brothers, biblical brothers. All these different figures live in his land. Okay. He's the protagonist. Next is Destruction, who's real big and butch. We don't know anybody like that. He's war. He's like war, essentially. Desire is who I would want to be. Desire is a twin, and I'll talk about the twin in a second. And Desire is androgynous, both male and female. Nice. Very cruel, though. Very, very cruel, but incredibly fierce. Very like David Bowie with like Mariah Carey's attitude.
Oh, damn!
Yes, it is killer. Literally, Desire lives in a palace that is their own body. Like, it's a huge, giant palace of them standing naked. It's so awesome. So awesome, okay? Now, this next one, this is who I think you are.
Okay.
Now, she's the twin sister, okay, to Desire. She's loving.
Why is she ugly?
Her name is Despair.
Oh my god!
And she lives in this land that is just mirrors that she looks into. She looks out through mirrors at only depressed people. She does have a hunchback. She is about 3 foot tall. Her skin is gray. She has very short hair. And she carries around a fish hook that she gouges herself with for no reason. So for obvious reasons, I thought you'd be Despair.
Oh my god!
What? You're not really Despair, baby.
She's so sad.
She is really sad. And also, like, so touching. And then last but not least, Delirium, who is exactly what she sounds like. She's the youngest. And she goes really crazy very often. That's who I actually think I would be, to be honest, if I had to pick one. Which one do you think you'd be of those?
There was so many I've already forgotten.
I guess you'd probably be Death, because you don't really, I mean, not because of gendered stuff, but you're definitely not Destruction. You're not really Despair. That was just a joke. Yeah. I will show you a picture after, though. You're going to be so offended.
Actually, when you were describing Death, I was like, she sounds like Raven from Teen Titans Go, who is my favorite character.
Oh, similar, except Death is more like an older sister vibe. So, like, she's not depressed, even though she's a goth. She's like a sweet goth chick, you know?
I could be her.
Yeah, aware of death, but
also look really good in black. Like,
you do.
Like, some girls can't pull off, like, black lipstick or something, but, like, I totally can.
When you wear, those days you wear that black trash bag on your face, I think are the days you look the best.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
You gotta make a statement, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And also save people from your face. God. So this dysfunctional family is called The Endless. And a movie is currently in development.
Oh, yeah?
But it's been in development hell since 1996.
So it's not happening.
Well, look, people really, really want it to exist.
Well, gay men's got a lot going on.
Most gay men do. It's true. It's true. And, like, in the past, in some of the incarnate... Because there have been, like, at this point, like, so many possible movies and possible teams to make this movie. Mm-hmm. In the past, he's been an executive producer, stuff like this. Right now, he's not officially part of it, but, of course, he's in talks. The most recent person who is, like, spearheading it, this is going to blow your mind. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
As a director or producer?
Yes, both, and also star.
Oh, he wants to be the Sandman.
And star, and then possibly direct. Which I could actually see him playing this role. It's outside of what he normally plays, because Dream is not funny and not awkward.
I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I'm not upset about that.
I do too. Sadly, though, he's dropped out. He dropped out in 2016 because of it. Just, you know how it is. It went to a different studio. They disagreed about how it should look, so he dropped.
Man, this has such potential. Such potential.
Too.
I think it would make more sense not as a full-length feature film and probably more as a, what's it called? Limited series?
A limited, yes. And actually, you know, I'm such a huge fan of Gaiman, and Sandman is one of my favorite comics of all time. Just mind-blowing. But that's why it's my number 2 and not number 1. Exactly. Because I was thinking limited series or even just a straight-up TV series.
Dude, which is what they're doing with Good Omens, which is one small, inconsequential book. So if they think they need many episodes to spread that out over, how can they possibly fathom summing up 75 issues plus spinoffs into one great story?
And that's why, frankly, I think the movie keeps failing. Yeah. I mean, it's been considered as a TV show as well, and that's died for various reasons. But the last group of writers, do I have their name? Yeah. One of the writers, his name is Eric Heiserer.
Okay.
He has a lot of ERs in his name. Heiserer. When he was leaving, he like slammed the door. I'm making this part up. And he was like, this would be better as a TV show anyway. He really did say that, but probably not while slamming a door.
But maybe.
Yeah, and then he took an apple and just threw it on the ground and exploded because he threw it so hard. And the seed flew out and got in somebody's eye.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was Joseph Gordon-Levitt's eye.
Wow. You know what? Go with me here. Okay. Wes Anderson's Neil Gaiman's The Sandman, starring Owen Wilson.
Yep, obviously.
Edward Norton. Mm-hmm. Bill Murray.
Oh my God.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Girl.
How many more do we need? 1, 2, 3, 4. Starring
three more.
Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, Jeff Goldblum have to.
Girl.
Hello, goodbye.
Angelica Houston. Oh, she could be Desire.
Yes. Yeah. I love Angelica Houston. I fucking love her.
Okay, I think we need like one more. They haven't really hung out, but what about like a Sam Rockwell?
Yeah, he'd be a great Destruction.
Now, you might notice I didn't say any people of color. It's not a personal choice. It is a Wes Anderson film.
Yeah, and I was actually listening to All Things Considered, I think, or some NPR show, and they were talking about appropriation in Isle of Dogs.
You were listening to Pop Culture Happy Hour.
Yes, that's why I was.
I heard it too. Yeah.
And, now, Wes Anderson's not like my fave. And also, I'm not really a dog person, so I was like, well, I don't care about this movie. But when they were talking about it, I was like, yeah, girl, that is appropriation. And why is it all the dogs are English American and all the people are Japanese and we can't understand what they're saying, but then, other stuff happens. I won't ruin it. They kind of spoiled it on the podcast, but... I
take back Gwyneth Paltrow. Let's replace her with Greta Gerwig.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, I think that's better. Speaking of appropriation.
Yes.
Anyway, that was a good episode. I love Pop Culture Happy Hour.
Well, yeah, it's so good. So, actually, sometimes I listen to that show and I think, oh, Morgan and I are up against a whole lot.
Yeah.
That's a good show.
They're a very different format with lots of money and very short.
And also much
conversation.
I'm not saying they're less honest because I think they're very honest, but
they're
more produced, right?
Yeah, they are.
Like we say some shit that is we truly believe, but might piss somebody off. Whereas they hardly ever say anything controversial.
Yeah,
and they couch it a lot. Anyway, the thing is, so look, I think it should be a TV show first of all, or limited series. They also right now are doing Lucifer. You know that it's like a police procedural or whatever. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not interested in police shows. So Lucifer is based on Lucifer from Sandman. I mean, is that character?
Is it Idris Elba?
Girl,
is it that one?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's not, but I could be wrong. I watched like 2 episodes and I was like, girl.
Luther.
Oh, yes.
It's a different police
I got all
procedural.
excited because I love Lucifer from, just period. I'm just a Satanist.
Yeah.
No, I love Lucifer from Sandman. He's a really fascinating character because he walks away from hell in the comic. He says, you know what? This fucking job sucks. So I'm going to open this door of hell and y'all figure it out. That's essentially what he does. And I was like, yeah, Queen, who wouldn't? Honestly, who wouldn't? It's like working at PetSmart.
Girl.
Hell no.
It's like my last day at Sonic when they was crying and I was taking their tears and dropping them in my cherry slush. And I was like,
dancing on tater tots.
Bye. And I was like, guess what? I never claim my tips.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now you're going to federal prison. You just said that air. Okay. But so Lucifer's doing well. It just got renewed for season 3. And that shit's boring as hell. I know because I tried to watch it. So I think Sandman, especially now when... like Netflix and Hulu and also just stations are really putting money into TV because they're like, actually, TV is just as legit a medium as movies. I think this might be the time for Sandman. Plus, Neil Gaiman is blowing up right now.
He is everywhere. I heard somebody the other day refer to him as like an emerging author or something. And I was like, just because you never like have heard of him, like he's literally been around for decades.
Yeah, that actually makes me super furious. That person's ignorant. Forgive me, they may be very nice.
It was actually your mom.
Okay,
hi, Fran.
Okay, 1, why are you calling Fran just out of nowhere like that? 2, is she in town? Didn't come see me.
Yeah, that was actually the one that happened.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm, that was the one.
Well, I forgive that. I'm ignorant about many things, so no tea, no shade. But for the record, that's a very ignorant opinion.
Yes, he's very weathered.
He's been working since the 70s, 80s. Yeah. And also completely remade what we think of as comics and like rejuvenated comics. And then, girl, I'm not even going to go.
He's a saint.
He's essentially perfect in every way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So don't fuck it up, Neil.
Yeah. Be perfect, Neil.
We're
no
counting
big deal.
On you. Wow. Wow. Okay, so let's move on to our number 2 selection. My number 1 movie where I'm like, damn, I wish I could see that. Now, let me preface this with, it's not damn, I wish I could see that because, oh my God, it's so good, the content, like the Sandman. Like, oh my God, I have to see it created. It's so bizarre, bonkers, weird, strange, that, like, I need it. I just need it. Like, if it came out, it would be one of those movies where I was like, I will give you my money in the theaters, not because you deserve it, but because I have to be a part of this.
Sure, I feel you.
Okay, I went with Tim Burton's Superman Lives.
Oh my God.
Starring Nicolas Cage.
What?
Written originally by Kevin Smith, edited later by other people. 3 weeks out from production, fucking canceled.
Thank God for that.
Well,
I mean, yes and no. Look, Nicolas Cage's Superman. Are you kidding me with this bizarro, ugly-ass Superman?
He is gross. He is
disgusting.
Definitively disgusting. So this was happening back... Oh, shit, I didn't write down the date, but like circa the 90s, when Nick Cage, like, he didn't want a fucking Oscar. He was at the height of his career. People didn't know him as the crazy Nick Cage that we know and love / hate today. Yeah. They knew him as, like, cool Nick Cage. I mean, he was always kind of crazy, but still, like, he was hot.
Can I just say for the record, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But just for the record, so I think Nick Cage is a very good actor. I have an irrational, the way he looks repulses me. And does that make me cruel and vapid and shallow? Perhaps, yes. I'm not often repulsed physically by people, but something about him disgusts me.
Now, I will say, you can find pictures of him on the internet, dressed as Superman for their pre-production photos. He looks atrocious.
Oh my God.
He has a Nick Cage hair situation happening. And there were so many iterations of this movie coming together that it's just crazy it didn't happen. Because it was also kind of the height of, like, Tim Burton.
Yeah.
I mean, Tim Burton was really hot in the 90s and the early 2000s. Okay, let me break this down for you. Okay. So Kevin Smith, who we all know and love from Clerks
Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah, Jay and Silent Bob, and, like, you know, Jason Mewes' best friend, like, all that shit. So he was working with someone else to kind of, like, put the script together. And the person who was his last name was Peters, but I don't know what his first name was, but I guess he was essentially, like, the producer. And he had in his mind kind of a framework of, like, bullet points, things he needed to happen in this Superman reboot. And he gave that information to Kevin Smith, and he was like, okay, well, I prefer to kind of write original stuff, but I'll try to work around this framework. What they came up with was this script. Superman Lives. Brainiac sends Doomsday to kill Superman, as well as blocking out the sun to make Superman powerless, as Superman is fueled by sunlight, of course. Brainiac teams up with Lex Luthor, but Superman is resurrected by a Kryptonian robot, the Eradicator. Brainiac wishes to possess the Eradicator and its technology. Superman's powerless, but the resurrected Superman is sheathed in a robotic suit formed from the Eradicator itself until his powers return, courteous of sunbeams, of course, and then, of course, he defeats Brainiac in the end. What the shit is that even a plot?
So, essentially, what they're giving us is Superman's death, notable, happens in the comics, also by Doomsday, I believe. Happened now, we've seen it in Justice League, right? Happened? Or, what was that?
Yeah.
No, Batman versus,
Superman.
But then they also bring us that, like, cyborg Superman, which I didn't read that comic. I don't know where that happens or why. That's interesting. That seems like a lot. Seems like a lot of weird alien villains for one.
Right?
And also, can we say again, Nick Cage in a Superman costume?
So gross. So gross. So gross. So when Kevin Smith wrote this bizarre script that was partially not all his fault because he had to follow this, like, outline, like, because they wanted, like, all these villains. They were like, here's kind of, like, everybody who has to be a player. Which is, like, too many villains, like, frankly. I mean, what do you think you're fucking Spider-Man?
Well, I guess the right. Girl. I guess the Eradicator is technically... He's not a villain, right? He's an ally.
Right. But we got Brainiac, like Doomsday, and Lex Luthor.
Yeah, see, that's too much.
It's too much.
That's
too much. Okay, and so when Smith wrote this script, he had a cast in mind, of course, that he provided that he would prefer. Here was his casting list that never was. Ben Affleck as Clark Kent Superman, because, of course, you know, Kevin Smith loves Benny Aff. Linda Florentino as Lois Lane. I don't even know who she is. Jack Nicholson as Lex Luthor. Famke Janssen as Mercy. John Mahoney as Perry White.
John Mahoney.
David Hyde Pierce as the Eradicator. Jason Lee as Brainiac. Jason Lee from I'm Earl fame, I believe. And Jason Mewes as Jimmy Olsen, who I don't know who that is.
A little sidekick guy.
But Jason Mewes making the cut, of course.
That sounds horrible.
Isn't that the most Kevin E. Smith, like, fucking piece of Spider-Man bullshit Superman you ever heard?
I mean, look, they could have made it work. There's a lot of talent there, but...
Well, Ben Affleck, of course, went on to play Batman.
Badly, I think.
Yeah.
Personally.
So he still got a piece of that superhero action, but this did not happen. They went with an alternate situation, of course, casting Nicolas Cage, and I read that they ended up Tim Burton wanted Nicolas Cage because they thought that he would be the first person to play Superman to really differentiate Clark Kent and Superman as two completely different people, because nobody else can be two-faced like Nicolas Cage.
That's true.
So that's an interesting concept. That never, ever happened. That's so crazy and bizarre. And it's been such a cult classic, even though it doesn't exist, that they went on, some people who were really big fans of the idea made a documentary about the film not happening called The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened? And this came out in 2015, and I haven't got a chance to watch it, but I actually heard that it's really good, and I really want to see it. Written and directed by John Schnepp, it chronicles the behind-the-scenes events surrounding the canceled Tim Burton film. Funding for the documentary was raised through Kickstarter and premiered on May 1st, 2015, and is now available on VOD, video on demand, to watch in your home.
You said video on demand earlier. I was so impressed with you. What the hell is
VOD?
What
that's that? Just what people call. That's what people call when things are available for you to watch at your house. Yeah, if you can rent it on Amazon, it's VOD. If you can watch it on Netflix, it's VOD. It's on Hulu.
When you first said that, I thought that was like a legal downloading
No.
I was like, look at your Russian mafia.
Oh, so
I thought you were Russian mafia. Well, at least I'm not Russian. Oh, I'm just kidding. I love Russian.
I work with a lovely Russian girl.
Russian government, less so.
Anya did make a great joke today, though. She was talking about, we were saying, like, Moses, our coworker, was saying he's going to South Korea. That's where he's from. And he was like talking about all the things that he was going to bring there to them, like things that you can't get there and things he was going to bring back, like Korean skincare products. And Anya was like, oh, it's funny. When you come to Russia, they just give you a bunch of pictures of Putin to take back. And I was like, haha, wait, are you serious? But it was a joke.
Okay. Who knows?
But you can't tell, dude.
Who knows?
She loves a good Putin joke.
Oh my God.
Okay. So that documentary I really want to see, and I think is really fascinating. And I think that this project is just bananas.
You know, I was very shady about that. Sounds horrible and stuff. I think a lot of, I don't mean this in a cruel way, a lot of Kevin Smith projects, if they're just told to you, and actually, frankly, Tim Burton projects too, when you just see them on the page, you'd be like, girl, no.
Well,
what you mean?
Sometimes they should have said that.
Well, that's true enough. But, you know, what you mean this, like, stop-motion skeleton man don't want to live in Halloween Town no more? That sounds stupid as hell. What do you mean Santa Claus got tiny legs and feet?
And it's a Christmas movie?
Right! How this Christmas? But you know what? That's a great movie.
Yeah.
That's a Mick Parker movie. Yep, you agree.
Old, and, like, most people don't know about it? Is that what you mean?
Unique and hypnotizing in its strange, otherworldly beauty.
Wow.
Yeah. Me and what's her name? Galadriel.
Cate Blanchett?
We're both equally otherworldly beauties.
I get what you're saying.
Many people have said
because
that.
she actually physically is, and your thing was just
and the same.
Funny
the same. Indeed, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we're ready for number one?
Yes.
No, really, we had two number ones.
Well,
because, you know, but okay. Number one, at least in this podcast, At the Mountains of Madness, directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Ooh, he's so hot right now, but not like physically.
Not like fuckable.
Somebody said, one of my friends, I don't know who, that Guillermo del Toro is like the Mexican Peter Jackson.
Oh my God,
which
hilarious.
I agree with on so many platforms. But also, we were kind of surprised that Guillermo del Toro helped with The Hobbit.
Yeah.
So maybe they frowned. Maybe they shot him at the same place.
Well, they both have a kind of attention to detail that I think...
Oh, yeah. It's not 100% an insult.
Oh, no.
Wait. But he does kind of look like Peter Jackson, and Peter Jackson was Mexican.
Oh, yeah. For sure, they look similar.
Yeah.
Also, there's an artist who, like, does really weird, like, building installations who looks exactly like both of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I forget his name.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, everyone try to Google that based on the information I've given you.
Google it.
Girl. Okay, so this movie, At the Mountains of Madness. First of all, At the Mountains of Madness is an H.P. Lovecraft story. And it is... about explorers who find an ancient alien city in Antarctica, like in this landmass underneath the ice, right? And so this is back in the day, because, you know, Lovecraft wrote in like the early 20th century. Mm-hmm. And so actually, did you know that his first story, what's the name of that old girl? Her name starts with a C. I can never say her name. It's the Lovecraft god. Cthulhu.
Oh, Cthulhu.
Cthulhu. Cthulhu-hala?
Cthulhu.
Cthala.
Cthulhu.
Cthulhu-hula. I'd be calling her all out her name. Cthulhu-hala. I mean, I really can't remember how to say that. But anyway, he wrote The Call of Cthulhu in 1928. And just a bit after he wrote At the Mountains of Madness. But the thing is, his works have never really been adapted into a big budget movie. Ever.
That's crazy.
It is kind of insane if you think about the fact that, like, everyone knows who Lovecraft is. Even if maybe they haven't read all of his stuff or whatever, they know who he is. The thing is, though, Guillermo del Toro wanted to do this story about these explorers who find this alien city in Antarctica. And then, as they're exploring the city, they see this mural that kind of tells them the history of Cthulhu and the Star Cult and all these other aliens. But then they also find some frozen aliens.
Oh, yeah.
And for these aliens, they don't look too good. But about 8 of these aliens, they are perfectly preserved in that ice.
Okay.
And then maybe that ice gonna thaw. Maybe there's gonna be a group of explorers lost in this H.P. Lovecraft alien city, and these aliens be hunting them. Could happen. I'm not spoiling it, but I'm just saying, could happen.
Dude, that's pretty dope.
Okay, so it sounds like really good to me. And can't you, when I'm talking about this story, can't you see, like, the Del Toro version of it?
Yes.
It's, like, so perfect for his style. So, he wrote a script in 2006. He proposed it to Warner Brothers, who picked it up with the backing of James Cameron as producer.
Oh, you got that money. You got that Titanic money.
That's that mama right there.
Girl.
Give me that money, please.
He's got it. He's like, make it rain.
Yeah. Sometimes you feel like we're DJ jocks, like shock jocks. Shock jocks? What? Yeah, shock jocks. For like just a second, I feel like sometimes we fall into it.
Yeah.
Patow!
And we're like,
me so hard.
Pretty much.
That's from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway. Also, Tom Cruise was attached to it. Though.
Well, you can't have it all.
Sometimes all you can get is Tom Cruise. I mean, granted, he's one of the like most popular actors on earth, blah, 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 whatever, but I personally dislike him and wish he would never do another movie, but whatever. But back in the day, in 2006, this is before Scientology.
It was the height of Tom Cruise.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can imagine.
We didn't even know how short he was back then.
Girl, no. I mean, we'd heard tell, but we just couldn't imagine. He looked so much taller.
Look how tall he is.
Probably because they only hire short women and they make everyone hunch around him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah.
So things that killed this movie. Once again, an R rating played the biggest part.
That's so... Today, that's such a crazy concept, but I don't know.
Just over 10 years ago, it was a killer. Because here's the thing. He wanted a budget of about $150 million, which I think he would probably need to bring this vision to life.
Probably, yeah.
But here's the thing about that story. At least the story itself, who knows what the movie would do, has an unhappy ending. There is absolutely no love story, right? And it's also that weird Poe H.P. Lovecraft aesthetic where it's like slow. It's kind of like Dune in that it's like a slow build up until finally you're like, girl, everybody wants this spice. And it gets good for a chapter and then the book's over. That's the way Lovecraft reads to me a lot of the time. So anyway, it got denied after he had written the treatment, gotten very excited, done like a whole journal full of sketches and things, which you can find online if you're interested. And they're gorgeous, of course, because he's incredibly talented. But here's what I'm hoping, and this is the reason it's my personal number one. Not only does it sound like an amazing project, not only is Lovecraft completely untapped by, like, big blockbuster movies, but he just won Best Director and, Best Picture at the Oscars for Shape of Water. So I'm hoping, based on how well he's been doing and how popular he is right now, someone or a group of people are going to be like, girl, let's put the money into this. Let's let him do this dream project he's wanted to do for over a decade.
Do you think he wants it enough? Because I think that would be the deciding factor, because he does have choices laid before him. So is this the thing that he wants?
You know what we need to do? Let's sneak into his house with a dildo and a couple lengths of rope, and let's find out how bad he wants it.
You know, I don't have any plans for Saturday night. So.
Oh my God, let's do it!
Let's do it!
Day.
Girl, team building! We've been meaning to do some team building.
Friends who torture together, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Have blood under their fingernails.
Yeah. We'll get a Manny.
Yeah! Okay, so, Morgie.
Yeah, that sounds epic.
Of those 6 movies, if you could pick just one to come to life, would you pick Superman?
No, I wouldn't. It's, of the movies that, like, never happened, it's the one where I'm like, I need that so I can, like, make fun of it.
Yeah, as a cultural, like, just...
Yeah.
Thing.
Touchstone,
yes.
I think, man... I'm really interested in the Mountains of Madness or whatever, but I actually, after I like kind of started saying the words aloud, am really drawn to the BioShock situation. Yeah. Especially just thinking about like who could be cast and like the color palette, and if we could get someone like boss attached to it like Del Toro, or like alternate amazing like sci-fi fantasy situation. Maybe even Alex Garland, like Ex Machina, Annihilation. Completely. He might be a great person to bring that to life.
Yeah, at least as a consultant if he's not like the director.
Sure.
Up.
Yeah. So which movie out of these choices is your top pick? Oh, and you know what I just remembered about Sandman. Actually, I think I want to see Sandman most as far as on the screen, but I don't want to see it as a movie.
And that's exactly how I feel. And I think if I can kind of cheat and say Sandman as a TV show, that'd be my number one.
I think that's the ultimate solution.
Especially because the comic is so difficult and expensive to get. And I want more people to know this story because it's one of my formative stories. And I think it would speak to so many people. And it's just such a masterwork. It's such a fucking masterwork. And no one knows because no one can afford to buy the comics. Yeah. It's so sad.
It is quite expensive, though.
Yes. Yeah, literally like $500, I think. Close to get
crazy.
Yeah.
So I think this was a fun episode for us to do, right? Because it's like a little outside the box and it's like things that never existed, but like alternate universe. There's some fucking Jason Mewes, Superman.
Oh my God.
Situation
Jimmy
happening.
Olsen, oh my God.
So that's a life somewhere else in another world.
It's probably a world where you're successful and I'm friendly.
God. That place sounds awful.
Joke's on both of us. No, that's right here. You're successful, and I'm America's sweetheart.
Wow.
Everyone says so.
Wow.
Eventually. They all say it eventually.
Oh my God.
Sorry, I went a little too... got very intense. Gollum for a second.
Gollum.
Precious.
Speaking of my precious, is there anything else in the world that's bringing you joy right now?
So, mostly my
prostate. Nope, moving on.
What? What? I found the button. No, I'm sorry. That's just kidding. Actually, I have been really loving Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. recently. Oh, yeah. The MCU TV show, right? It is, yes. And I really like it because now it went through a bit of a rough period a couple seasons back, okay? But right now, the main cast, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s like a bunch of people, if you've never seen it, a bunch of kind of like X-Files type people. So they're like not of the government, but they're like at that level. And they're a secret organization. And, you know, they fight like mutants and crime. And they're a superhero team. Anyway, the point is, for a while it got real boring. And I was like, girl, I can't do this. I stopped watching for a season. But now they've like moved into space. So like they're still on Earth, but they moved into like timelines. They're doing past and future, and like you hang out with this guy and you find out he's your great grandson. Oh, damn! All kinds of weird stuff. I messed that up a little bit, so it's not a spoiler because I'm smart. They're fighting the Kree. They're going on to space stations. Like shit has gotten real. And this is a great season. And also, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been renewed for another season. There's a lot of worry it was going to be canceled because it's not getting the best ratings.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is on, I watch on Hulu, but I think it's on ABC, CBS. It's on one of those, like, you know.
Yeah. I legitimately have no idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's one of those things, like, I never have gotten around to seeing it yet, and I probably will at some point because I love the Marvel universe, but just haven't done it. But it's got that guy who plays the agent in all the movies.
Agent Coulson.
And I love him. He's a perfectly pleasant actor.
He's so good. And don't even get me started on, what is her name?
Agent Carter?
No, that's good too. That's a good series. No, her name is Min in the show. Oh, it doesn't matter. There's a bunch of really
good
actors.
Some fierce
people. Yes, I'm going to look up her name. You do your plug, and I'm going to interrupt you as I always do.
So I was going to definitely plug something. What was it? I didn't totally forget.
Wow, Morgan.
Wow, if I don't write it down...
Lean in.
I'm like literally a goldfish. I don't know. So I'll just plug this... There's this situation happening in the world right now of brackets where people are drafting different things, which I am so down for. There's a really popular one right now about Disney versus Pixar, and people have a lot of hot takes on like which Disney or Pixar movies are the best, which is like really fun conversation to witness. But there's some really dope ones. Mickey and I just did one earlier that was Birth Movies Death, the Alamo Drafthouse kind of pop culture sector, put out a draft, and it was like the greatest franchises, and we got it down. We narrowed our brackets down to Star Wars versus the MCU.
Yes.
And we think it's a fierce battle, and we hear it for both sides. We understand the fans and their love, and we don't know what the answers are. So I'm kind of living for trending social media bullshit that's pointless but makes me smile. That's what's making me happy right now.
That's what we do. That's what this whole thing is. By the way, Melinda May, she's kind of the second in command under Agent Coulson.
Okay.
And the actress that plays her is Ming-Na Wen.
Ooh.
See, so I was afraid to try and then be offensive. But she's like an extreme badass.
Okay.
But she's also kind of like Professor McGonagall in that she seems real stern, but she's got a heart of gold.
Oh, she's a softie.
Those are my favorite characters.
Okay. Well, check out Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and useless social media stuff that makes you smile. And, of course, please follow us on all of our useless social media channels. We're on all the goodies at B&B Cast or Beauty and the Bitch.
We on the Instagram. You can like us on the Facebook.
You can like it.
You can find us on WordPress if that's really something you want to do.
You can also like it.
Mm-hmm. You could go on YouTube.
You can YouTube it.
You just search Beauty and the Bitch.
That's
or
us.
You could search Mick and the Bitch.
Whoa.
Whoa.
If you've been working on that SEO behind my back, you're dead to me.
Actually, our channel only shows up if you search Mick is beautiful, Morgan is literal trash on fire.
Oh my god, if that was the first thing that came up, I don't even think I would be mad.
Just impressed. Like when I ate that whole wheel of cheese and you were like, I'm not even mad.
Not even mad. It's very impressive. So find us on all of those platforms. You can follow me personally on the gram at Morganized Mess and check out my blog, morganizedmess.com.
And you can follow me personally on the 801 as I ride to work.
Holla at you, boy.
Hi. I'm that guy scowling at everyone. And by the way, when you talk to me, I will be rude because I don't like talking on the bus.
Yeah.
So sorry.
So definitely find Mick on there.
It'll be great for both of us, I can tell.
All right. Until next time, babies.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Damn, with the soprano.
Oh, you didn't know that was coming. Ooh.
Do you have a home? Beauty in the Bitch. You look. Bitch. Beauty in the Bitch.